Support for this podcast and the following message come from Corient. Corient provides wealth management services centered around you. They focus on exceeding expectations, simplifying lives, and establishing legacies that last for generations. Leverage their exclusive network of experts to help achieve your personal and professional financial goals. As one of the largest integrated fee-only registered investment advisors in the U.S., Corient has experienced teams who can craft custom solutions designed to help you reach your financial goals, no matter how complex. Real wealth requires real solutions. Connect to a wealth advisor today at Corient.com.
Slow and steady may work in storybooks, but in the real world, Buckeye Express Logistics Services will win every race. At Buckeye Express, we offer time-sensitive transportation for manufacturing and manufacturing suppliers. We thrive on solving challenging logistics issues on short notice. When time is critical, whether your shipment is large or small, call us at 614-272-6730. Buckeye Express Logistics Services, your expedited transportation supplier.
Israel is 5,690 miles away from the U.S., 11 hours by plane. Hate travels faster. In a comment, in a post, in a second. Jewish hate is up 388% in the U.S. Black hate, Muslim hate, and Asian hate are up too. When one hate rises, they all do. Let's stand up to all hate together. Share and wear the blue square from standuptojewishhate.org.
What's up, y'all? This is Neena Perez, and this is Straight Talk, No Sugar Added. And I know that you are here to listen to the best humans on the planet to grow, challenge, and transform your thinking. Let's do this. Now, one of the great things I do is I go around this beautiful planet of ours, and I try to find the best people on it to come on here and talk to us and just like expand the way we think and do things. I found Jill. Jill is an entrepreneur, an author, a founder, and the CEO of Frox, which is a women's lifestyle boutique. She inspires women through fashion, both in her boutique and online, and the author of Behind the Button. Don't you love that name? I love that freaking name. So she's traveling the country with her message of empowerment, body acceptance, educating and inspiring women to live in their passion. Jill Strickland, welcome to Straight Talk. I'm so glad to have you. How are you?
Good. I'm so excited to be on. I love meeting you. And yes, everything you said is absolutely my passion, is to help women feel amazing about themselves. Yeah.
That's so good, because it was for, you've been in the fashion industry for a very long time. And I do want to get to know you a little bit more. And I think it's something so beautiful about what you're doing as well, because for a long time, there's been a lot of shame in the fashion industry, especially for women. You're not thin enough, you're not tall enough, you're not whatever enough, right? Mm-hmm. So it's good that we have turned that corner. I feel like we have anyway. I've seen more body positivity out there, more people really just loving who they are. So Jill, before we get into all that phenomenalness, I do want to know a little bit more about you. So who is Jill Strickland? Tell us about you.
Good question. I don't love talking about myself, but obviously on this book tour and everything, I talk about myself. But I would say Jill Strickland Brown, actually, it's Jill Strickland Brown, is a hard worker, a lot of tenacity, a lot of resilience. Jill Strickland Brown has been through, life's challenges. And as we talk about in the book, we talk about life's challenges being equated to a dye bath. So within the book and within my life, fashion has always been the filter. So I would say, the clothing is great. It's a connector, and we'll talk about that. But I would say Jill Strickland Brown, tenacious, resilient, and really working on that enough thing. Yeah. And as I can, and I'm a connector. I would say a connector is a awesome. Good question, or good. That is quality. A good question, but the quality I think is what is my strength. Is connecting.
That's awesome. Yeah, connecting is powerful, right? Because you really, I feel like I'm somewhat of a connector myself. I love connecting humans to humans. I think it's a beautiful thing to do. And it expands your network. It expands your value to people, right? Because then people remember, oh, Jill introduced us, and that was an important piece. And a lot of people take that for granted, but I think that's super powerful. Yeah. I love that.
I love it. And actually, the button is a connector. So that's really cool
Yeah,
too. I
I
love
love
that. You
it.
know, it connects the two fabrics together. So
That's
that the
amazing.
button is a really big deal in my world. Yeah.
Yeah. So talk to me about that because you said you have a lot of resilience and you've been through some things and you don't have to get into too much that you don't want to, but
Mhm.
I'd love to know a little bit about that. Like, what do you mean when you say that?
Well, part of the book is I wrote the book myself just for therapy to, get rid
Mhm.
of all that childhood stuff and, all the stuff that we carry around for us for years.
Mhm.
And we curate what we tell people on, social media. And we all have
Yep.
that little, we're Teflon and, you know, what the world sees. But happened to me is when I started sharing my story, um, and women are vulnerable in the fitting room, we start
Mm,
to
mm.
share ourselves when we're in that safe space, um, which I have in the fitting room. It's a safe space, and when you feel good and you feel connected and you feel empowered, then you feel okay to be vulnerable and share your story. And then
That's good.
when I shared my story and they share their story, we realize we're all connected and that we all have stuff, we
Yeah.
all have our childhood stuff. We all have, marriages that are tricky or kids that are tricky or whatever it is.
Mhm.
And those are life's divests. So I think there are definitely two themes to my book and to my life, which is empowering women, making them feel great, but also allowing them to be vulnerable as well, which is empowering
Yeah.
as well. So yeah,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
That's a very powerful tool to help women with because
yeah.
it is something very powerful about being vulnerable. It's something very powerful about
Hmm.
being truthful about what you've gone through and
Hmm.
exposing. I call it exposing the enemy. Like
Yes.
the enemy of your
Oh,
past. It's just
yes.
exposing it,
Yeah.
and it just makes you super strong. And so I'm glad you do that. I'm really
Yeah.
curious though. How did you blend fashion, right? I
Mhm.
and how did you do that? How did you blend that fashion with also encouraging and stories? Like how did that come about?
Yeah. Well, that's you have really good questions. I
Thank you.
like, I would say, I always say story, my byline is stories that thread us together. And how I
Love
brought the
that.
two, I feel like you can buy a shirt anywhere.
Mm,
You can go to a store, you can department store, you can go online. To me, the clothing was always the connector. It was never about the clothing. It was always about how I made them feel. And then realizing that, we all have, like I said, our challenges, but also within our body,
yeah.
I've never in the 20 years that I have been standing in front of that mirror, there has never been a woman that comes out and just like, I am amazing and everything on my body is fabulous. Never has
Right.
happened. There's
Right.
always my boobs, my belly, my butt, my whatever it is. And
Mm,
so the two definitely come together, the vulnerability, the empowerment, the clothing. And also I say you almost fake it till you make it or fake it till
mhm,
you become it. And so the clothing gives them the confidence to go out into the world and be, better mommy, better wife, better in the community, because she
mhm.
can go out and do what she wants to do to better the world and make an impact when she doesn't have to worry about her clothing and she has the confidence. I call it the power of clothing.
And I'm not really into or know too much about fashion. I shouldn't say I'm not into. I
Mm-hmm.
just don't know too much about it, right? But the
Mm-hmm.
thing is I do know what makes me feel good and what
Mm-hmm.
doesn't make me feel good. It's
You
it's a
got it.
powerful thing.
Yep.
Clothing is a very powerful thing. Like I
Mm-hmm.
know when I'm going into that really amazing business meeting that I have to attend, my
Mm-hmm.
suit looks tight, my hair looks good. Like
Right.
it really does do something to your psyche. It really does.
It
Like
does.
when I'm running out and I just want to go grab some dog food or something and I throw on like my sweats and my t-shirt, there's a completely different feel.
Vibe.
Completely different feel.
You
Yeah,
got it.
completely
Yep.
different vibe.
Yep.
So, how did you start getting into the fashion industry? What was that part of your journey?
So right from the beginning, in my childhood, I always loved fashion. I would look through the magazines. I had 3 older sisters. So I would, they would go on dates and I'd be like, well, if you want another date, you might want to dress, you might
That's
want to dress
funny.
this way or something. And so it was always in me as a kid. And I used to shop at like funky little stores and boutiques. The minute I got a paycheck, because for me as a kid, my clothing was my self-expression, and it was a way that I brought out my personality, and also wanted to be different, and I wanted to show who I was through my clothing. So that was important as a childhood. And then my first job I got in a clothing manufacturer, which was a garment dye manufacturer. So what they did is they would take fabric, immerse it in scalding hot water, and then when it came out of the dye bath, it would be more beautiful and more textured and rich in color. So that's actually, again, what I equate in the book to life. We all go in, into our challenges, and we come out of those dye baths beautiful with stretch marks and wrinkles, and but we come out stronger and better when we come out of that dye bath, when we come out of life's dye baths. Yeah.
That is so cool, because you also come out more colorful, don't you? I mean,
You
Jill,
do.
the older I got, the more colorful I have gotten, let me tell you. In many areas, I'm like, woo, when I'm 80, I'm in trouble. People are in trouble when I'm 80. Because if I am this much of a straight talker at 50, when I'm 80, they're in trouble. I'm going to be colorful. Anyway, that's so amazing.
Yeah.
So what then, so then you got into fashion. This is something that you really loved, and you started to get passionate about that. So where did that culminate with the women? Like, like really saying, you know what? This is important. This is something I have to focus on, is women in fashion and body image and how they feel. What was that about?
So when I worked at the manufacturer, I went to my first trade show. My bosses said, hey, we forgot the samples. We're up in New York doing a trade show. Can you bring the samples up? And I was customer service, just sitting at my phone. And I'm like, sure. Let me figure out. I was, in my 20s, really hadn't gone to New York a lot. Said, how in the world do I get up to New York? So I was like, all right. I went to the dye house. I grabbed sweaters. I threw them in a hockey bag. I jumped on a bus, because there are no tracks out in Pennsylvania.
Right.
So there are no tracks. So got on a bus, got myself there, and they said, well, we have a second set of hands. So you know what? Go stand behind the girl that sells the sweaters. And when she drops them on the floor, pick them up and put them on the shelf. I'm like, I can do that. And then I started listening to what she said. And I was like, I can do that. So they're like, wow, you're really good. So I started repping the line. I became I sold about $1 million of their line through the mid-Atlantic. So Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, DC, Maryland. And then along the way, I met these amazing, strong entrepreneurs of women that I met. And I was like, I want to be one of you. Yeah, I want to be you.
That's so cool.
And these women were amazing, and they were mentors. And I said, this is it. And I found my passion and my calling. And
wow, that's
20 years
awesome.
later, here we are.
Yeah. And where are we? Like when you say here we are, what is it that you're doing now with that? Right. Because you're obviously not picking up sweaters from the floor anymore. Right. You're not doing that. So,
actually, I kind of still do.
Yes, of course. Right. Of course. That's forever. Right. So tell me about what you're doing now. Like, what are you doing now with your shop, and where does that look like? And give me all of that.
So it's funny, as much as things change, some things stay the same. So always, every time I deviate, every time I say, oh, we should get, this line or that line, or we should do this or that, at the end of the day, what works is what was in our DNA. What we did 20 years ago is still what works best. But things have changed. Technology, especially with COVID, you can see we're talking over a computer. So, so people are getting used to Zooms and people are getting used to those things. So we do something on Facebook, which is called a Facebook Live. And we are crazy, and we laugh and we talk and we sing and we show clothing, and
Cool.
people connect and they comment, and you can tune in from anywhere in the world. So we have people all over the country just tuning in and loving what we're doing, and you can buy right there. You can go on our website. We have an app. So we have ways that if you can't make it to Little Perkasie, Pennsylvania, you can still interact with us, still have fun, comment, and we have a blast. So that's been a huge part of a change. And then the book tour, that's connecting with all these amazing authors. And then these women, and I've been asked to go on many podcasts to speak, and that blows me away. I just thought I would be in my little boutique forever, just helping women. But again, I think God or the universe takes you in a place that you never expect, so.
Isn't it awesome? Yeah. Life is so beautiful when you sit back and you look at the journey, because it literally just takes one step, just take the first step. The second step will come, then the third step will come. And then before you know it, you're doing everything you're doing, right? That's so fun. That sounds like a lot of fun. The Facebook Live.
I have a blast.
Yeah. When is that?
And if you don't laugh every day, then what's the point? You got to laugh every day. So the podcast, I'm sorry. I don't have a podcast.
Live.
You do. The live. It's this late night. You're killing me. Our live, we do a Facebook Live. We do a preview on Wednesday, just showing them what's to come, getting them excited.
So
and then on Thursday, we do it at 3:00. We were doing it at night, but we found with, this new world we're living in, people are hilarious. They are working from home. They want a little break. A lot of them are like, I'm on a conference call. I have you on mute, but I'm seeing all these things. And then they'll direct message me or comment like, hold that sweater for me. So,
that's so fun.
Really fun. And we really are working on, and I think we've done it, is having that experience that, people get when they come in the store online or through a Zoom. So it's really been working.
How are you finding that with the, having the boutique and being online? Are you finding that are you still getting the customers coming in through the door? Or
Absolutely.
That's great.
So my gals that are local will watch it, and then either they buy it because they know that, they want to save it for themselves. You got it. Or they come in and say, oh, you have so many cute things, so those are my local girls. But, speaking on all these podcasts, people want to come to the shop and they can't. So, so it's really a hybrid.
Yeah, which is great, right? Because it's an audience that you probably wouldn't have reached otherwise if we didn't have all this technology stuff. Because this is good and bad, right? Sometimes this stuff gets, but a lot of times you realize, like me and you, Jill, we wouldn't have met any other way, really. I don't think, right? So I mean, we're both on the East Coast, which is good, So I'm gonna have to make a pit stop down here. Are you still in Pennsylvania? Is your shop still there?
Yep. Yeah? So I'm in Perkasie. It's in between Philadelphia and New York. It's Bucks County, if you're familiar at all.
Fun. So now I want to touch on this behind the button, right? Because this is your baby now. This is your other project, and it sounds to me like a real labor of love. And maybe even a little cathartic for you, right? Writing this amazing book.
Very much so.
Yeah.
I did not expect this book to resonate with so many people. I absolutely wrote it to get those stories out, those stories we tell, and I was telling those same stories for 50 years. And I'm like, I am done telling those stories. I'm tired of those stories, taking the armor off, because the armor gets really heavy. So taking that off, and so many things that I never expected happened. So, telling your story, boy, is that vulnerable, all your oozy stuff is out. And then being at a Barnes and Noble and telling a story or being somewhere and telling a story, and a complete stranger says, yeah, I know it's in the book. And you're like, ooh,
Yeah.
like
Fun, right?
you know me before you know me. That's really weird.
That's so neat.
But it's great. And then, again, it inspires other people, because I talk about my journey in fashion. That's what it really is. And, going and living your passion and being tenacious and resilient. So many people have read the book, said, you've inspired me to go do that.
That's awesome.
So that's been a really strong message, is let me go live my passion. Let me go do it. And even though it's hard work and tough, I'm going to do it. So that's been a really cool thing that I didn't expect it to resonate with so many people. Yeah.
It's funny because you're like, you get so sick and tired of telling your story. And I totally understand that too. And I realize, at least this is the like epiphany, if you will, that I got when I wrote my autobiography, is that my story doesn't even belong to me anymore. My story is for others. It's not even for us anymore. I think that's why we get to a point where we start to heal through the book, and we start to heal through the things that are in our lives. And then we realize, almost like you feel a little even disconnected to that previous person because you're not that person anymore. And I realized that the book was written for others, because it was others who were coming to me. And it sounds like that's what people were doing with you, where they say, wow, this book spoke to me because this book did this to me because, and then you realize, oh, that's why I went through all I've went through. That's why I'm writing the book. Right?
Yes. And having faith, and yes, when people say you're exactly where you're supposed to be, or everything happens for a reason, sometimes you believe that. But when, like you said, you wrote your book and I wrote mine, I guess, I wouldn't realize how strong I am unless I had been through all that. Yeah.
Right. Which goes back to what you said before, right? That you're very, like, when you described yourself, you said you're very resilient. Right. And so writing your book, I'm sure, gave you that, that perspective too, because you got to see, wow, hold on a second, I've actually been through quite a bit. I forgot about that, or I forgot about this. Right.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Because, we all go and just live our life. We don't really think about that stuff.
Right.
And then when you put it on paper, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And also, on the flip side, the positive side is, I was like, wow, that was pretty cool. I did some really cool things. And
really
I'm like,
cool things.
I forgot about that, because, the people pleaser in me, the not enough person in me is always like the next thing, And you probably get that too. People are like, wow, you have a podcast, you do this, you do that. People are like, wow, you have a store for 20 years. Yeah, you wrote a book. And you're like, okay.
Right.
So,
The funny thing is, though, Jill, right? The funny thing is that when you started the boutique, it wasn't, you were probably scared.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yes. Scared. Didn't know if people would accept me. I didn't know if people would like what I had. Again, I was a sales rep. I wasn't a store owner. I didn't know anything about retail. I thought I did, but I didn't. There was a huge learning curve. And I have to be honest, I'm still learning. 20 years later, I'm still learning every day. So scared to death. Yes. And they say if it doesn't scare you to death, then you're not doing the right thing. So
you're not dreaming big enough. Right.
Right.
And
exactly.
the cool thing is, but that's inspiring too, because I think, because my podcast is consisted of about 65% women listen to my podcast. Men, I love you too. I know you listen. And here's the thing about these amazing people that listen to the podcast is a lot of them are entrepreneurs, or, very high professional, but high achieving professionals. And a lot of them are shifting now. They're wanting to get out of those roles and into maybe their own thing. I love that you said, yes, I was scared to death, but you're doing it 20 years now and you're still learning. And that's a big message that I want people who are listening to also take away. You don't have to know it all when you're starting something, and do it afraid. Just do it afraid, because a lot of us get so fearful. We overthink it. And then before you know it, the times are past, things are past, and you're still wanting, wishing, longing, but haven't done anything about it, right? Like what you said earlier about your book. I've been talking about my story for so many years. Finally, I just had to, put it in a book, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm.
it's this thing of our hesitation sometimes of doing things in our life. I love that you shared that, because I
Yeah.
want people to take away that inspiration that you just do it afraid, be smart about it, of course, but do it anyway, right?
I tell my girls all the time because they're nervous. They're like, I don't want to do it wrong. I don't,
Yeah.
and I say it's better done than perfect. It's better
Yeah.
done than perfect,
Yeah.
so just
That's
go
good.
do it. And I always say, I want to come into, I don't know where I'm going to be, heaven or hell. I'm not really sure. I want to come into, the end of my life screeching on in and like skidding
Right.
on in, and I'm done. And I did everything I want to do.
Yeah.
I don't want
Yeah.
any
Yeah.
regrets. I really don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, me neither. I shared this story before in the podcast, but I remember when I used to be in medical, I had a patient. She came in
Mhm.
and I was asking her how she was. She was like, I think in her like mid to late 80s. And I said to her, "Can I ask you a
Mhm.
personal question?" And she said, "Yeah." I said, "Is there any?" So what I said, "What's the one thing that you regret?" She
Mm.
said, "I regret not doing what I love, but living my life because somebody else wanted me to do it that way." Like doing things
That's
other people
powerful.
wanted her. That was
Yeah.
so powerful to me
Mhm,
that ever since I've always challenged myself to do something different,
mhm.
something new, right?
And I
Because
would
yeah.
say, yeah, I'm sorry I
No, go
interrupted
ahead.
you. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Um, as I'm listening to her, and I'm also thinking about your listeners on the podcast, I think a lot of, probably because I'm 56, we're getting there. We have the second career, the second
Mhm.
mountain, the golden age career. So we've done so many things and
Mhm.
we've hit the top of that mountain. And now it's time. What's that second mountain? What's
Right.
that? And
Right.
usually it's climbing to the first mountain is climbing up the ladder or
Mhm.
climbing the mountain, whatever analogy you want to use. The second one, I think, is giving back. How do I give
Mhm.
back? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
think that's where a lot of women are that are in my, realm, probably in your realm is,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. What's that
Yeah.
second mountain?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good way to put it too. Cause yeah,
Mhm,
I'm 50 and I feel the same way. Like I feel
mhm,
like, yeah, the first mountain, God, I wish I was more wise. But yeah, the
mhm.
first mountain is, yes, we're gonna work so hard. I'm gonna be the hardest working person in the
Yeah,
room. And I'm like,
yeah.
why did I do that? But you're right. I think this the second mountain and maybe even the third and fourth, right? Because the truth
Mm,
is we're always growing and expanding and learning and just stretching and it's so freaking awesome being 50.
mm,
I didn't
mm.
know it would be this
Uh,
awesome. And the reason I
yeah.
say that is because, well, I've already been a straight shooter for quite some time, but I'm realizing that I'm really getting very colorful in my in my old age, if you will. And you know what? Another thing, Jill, is we need to stop maybe trying to step on each other to get on top of the mountain because there's
Mm,
really it's just
mm,
a metaphor. There really is no top of the mountain. When you
mm,
get there, you're just looking to keep going. Literally, you're just
mm.
looking to keep going to that next mountain, if you will, right?
Well, it's really funny. So my daughter moved to California and to see and she is with an outdoor company. So to see, and so she discovered, Joshua Tree and Zion and all these great
That's cool.
um national parks. So to see her, she makes me climb a mountain, which is
Right.
really funny. And the first time I climbed Joshua Tree, it was life changing because here I am, this little fashionista,
Right.
and I'm climbing these rocks that are bigger than a building. And I did it. And that
That's
was
cool.
amazing to me. And I'll tell you a funny story. So, that game, two truths and a lie.
Yeah.
So I I told my friends, I said, well, I'm gonna spend a week in an Airstream and climb mountains. And they're like, that's the lie. That's
Yeah,
the
that's
lie. I'm like, no, it's
that
actually
was
the truth.
actually the
Truth. But
truth. That's funny.
let's see, when we did it, February or March, I went to Zion, which was again another life challenge. And it might
That's so
be
neat.
book two, but what happens is when you go up the mountain, you climb it, there's 22 switchbacks, and then there's a
Oh my
plateau
gosh.
where everyone stops. And then there's the summit. So to go up the summit, you need a permit to release them
Oh
from
wow.
responsibility. So
Okay.
one red flag, right?
Right.
So then
Like,
to the summit, you must, right? You must hold a chain to get up there. And so when you look at it, you're holding the chain.
oh
And when
my
you look
gosh.
down, you can fall off this mountain, which is 13,000 feet or so.
Wow.
So you're holding the chain. And I am thinking of every life metaphor, one step in front of the other. Don't look back. Don't look down. Every Oprah episode I've ever
Right.
thought of, I'm going up and
Right.
down. And I'm like, wow, wow, wow. And then, it takes a village, because what they also do is as you're going up, they have a group that comes down. They're like, we're coming down. So you need to hold the chain on either side of your body,
Oh my
and they come
gosh.
down and come over top of you. So I got to know a lot of strangers, but also
Very closely. Yeah.
together you have to
Wow.
survive, because you rely on the person in front of you to hold you up and the person next to you.
Oh, wow.
So amazing metaphors. So I don't know, that might weave into book 2. I don't know. I'm knocking ideas around, but those
Wow.
every life experience, as we just talked about, culminated in that climb.
Right. And that must have been very, very powerful, right?
Oh,
Because you realize, well, first of all, how freaking strong you really are, right? Especially because your life pretty much depended on it, right? I mean, you signed the waiver, so you know it did. So your life depends on it, right?
Yeah.
What you are willing to do and how far you are willing to go.
Yeah.
That
And when
is
you're on
super
that
cool.
summit, first of all, around the universe, and you feel so powerful. And then you also
Mhm.
know you're part of that your energy, and you are part of that,
Mhm.
and you have the strength, and you're part of this beauty and creation. And then also, yes, the feeling of accomplishment, the feeling of, I just did that. And
I
I'm
just
at the
did that. I
summit.
know.
And as they say, it's not about, where you are, it's the climb, So it's
Right,
not
right.
about it is about getting to the top. But what taught me was the climb.
But when you got up to the top, the beauty of that must have been
Mm.
majestic, right?
Majestic. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool. I'm glad you did that because you could have easily said, "No, sweetheart, I'm not doing that."
I'm
Right?
done
Yeah,
at that plateau.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that would have been okay too, because that's still higher than most people, right? So
Mhm.
it's just pretty cool to push yourself to yet another level, yet
Mhm.
another thing,
And
right?
what, like we
And
were talking about, fear,
mhm.
that's scary.
Yeah. Yeah, just a bit. Just a bit. Sign a waiver here. If you fall, yeah,
And
it's all right.
they're like 14 people have died, and I'm like, don't make me 15. Don't make me
Right.
15.
Right. Oh my gosh, that's so real. That's so real. But it says a lot about you, Jill. It really, like, as I'm listening to that story, it tells me a lot about you because of already, from the beginning, you hopped on the bus to get to the train to do what it is you had to do, and then went to sell a lot for them, and then actually went and opened up your own space, pouring into women, writing your own book, climbing mountains. I mean, you're just full of grit and tenacity, right? So it shows that you are really going to be impacting a lot of lives, and I'm glad that you're doing this book tour. I'm proud of you for writing your book because it's a mountain in itself. It really is. I
Mhm,
mean, think about
mhm,
all the things you have to expose, all the things you have to actually know that you may get judged on, because it's
mhm,
true, there are people who will
mhm,
judge, right? But
mhm.
you're in the fashion industry, so judgment is like all the
Like
time, right?
this,
It's like
yeah, like
every
water,
piece. Right.
So
Right.
yeah, and
That's awesome.
even getting on this, the
Right.
neck is wrinkly, the face, I'm
Right.
like, ooh, is that what I look like? But you know what? Not getting the Botox, not getting, this
Good
is
for
what
you.
a
Good for you.
56-year-old woman looks like. And they're badges of honor. They're
That's
badges of
right.
a life
They
well
are.
lived. Yeah.
Cool for you. That's so awesome. So, Jill, I cannot let you leave without letting my people know where they can, where they can shop for your stuff and go. I want to do the live. I'm going to try to catch one of those because that sounds like fun.
Oh, you'll have
So,
so much
yeah,
fun.
I want
So
to try to
catch us
catch
on the
one.
live Thursday at 3:00. We always do it. And then really just go on Behind the Button by Jill. and you'll enter our world. You'll read my story. You'll have a link to the book. You'll have a link to the live. So enter our world through Behind the Button by Jill.com. That's it.
I'm so proud of you, Jill. Thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate you. So
that
cool.
was a super fun talk. I had a great time.
Yeah, this is so fun. Oh man, guys, please make sure
next time we bring wine, okay?
Yeah, heck yeah. Oh, that's a good idea. Let's do that. Heck yeah, let's do it. I am stoked that you were here because I mean, even when we met the first time, I just love your spirit. I love your energy. I love what you're doing. I love that you're pouring into women. Like all that is my jam, and I'm really happy that you came on. Thank you so much.
Well, we connected just like a button, so thank you so much.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Guys, make sure that you follow Jill, please. I'm going to make sure to link all of her information below. Don't you just love her? I love her. Anyway, I'm going to go on her website, check out some stuff that she has going on there. Make sure that you do that. And also, hopefully, I'll bump into you on one of the lives because how much fun would that be?
And check in. Make sure you check in.
Yes, let's check in. And, even when I think I'm traveling soon to go down to Florida and we may pass by Pennsylvania. Maybe I'll pop in and see if I see you in there or something. That would be so fun. But thank you guys so much for watching and being here and loving and sharing all that great stuff. I really, really appreciate you. Hey guys, thank you so much for listening. You are the best. Okay. I have the best podcasting community ever. I really do. And I appreciate you guys being on here. Make sure you go on to winject.com/register, winject.com/register and register for my free community because I want to be really connected with you and I want us to brainstorm and be with each other and connect in a deeper way. If you are looking for coaching, please make sure that you also email me at hello@straighttalknosugaradded.com. I work with women and I help them develop that business that they are envisioning in their hearts so that they can win. Thank you guys so much for being here. Love you, love you, love you. This is Neena Perez, Straight Talk, No Sugar Added. Until next time.
Israel is 5,690 miles away from the U.S., 11 hours by plane. Hate travels faster. In a comment, in a post, in a second. Jewish hate is up 388% in the U.S. Black hate, Muslim hate, and Asian hate are up too. When one hate rises, they all do. Let's stand up to all hate together. Share and wear the blue square from standuptojewishhate.org.
Worthington Industries is hiring skilled production associates. Pay starts at $22 per hour plus shift differential. If you have experience in manufacturing, apply today to find out what your starting rate would be. Worthington Industries also offers profit sharing and day one benefits. Apply today at workforworthington.com and search for Columbus, Ohio. That's workforworthington.com. Worthington Industries is an equal opportunity employer.